Can you hear me, Ivan? Can you hear me? Hello? Good, good, good. I don't know. And welcome along to the NASCAR Grand Prix of Spain. Circuit Ricardo Tormo is where we're starting our 2021 season with the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series here just outside of Valencia. We're only about 20 kilometers away from the circuit. This new circuit that was built in 1999 by the government of Valencia and is named in honor of the 2 times 50cc motorcycle world champion whose promising career, Ricardo Tormo, was cut short by a horrific testing accident in the mid-80s. He was a native of Valencia, and Tormo had battled leukemia during his enforced retirement and eventually succumbed to the disease the year before the circuit opened. It's our 10th visit in reality, or 10th set of championship races we've had at Circuit Ricardo Tormo. And what a circuit it is. The cars for the EuroNASCAR Pro Division just lining up there at pit lane. They'll make their way out onto the circuit, and as they head around the track, let's have a look at the circuit itself. If you're not familiar with this circuit, it is one of 7 that we'll visit throughout the course of the 2021 season, Circuit Ricardo Tormo. And the circuit itself is 2.5 miles long. which is about 4 kilometres long. And there are 14 key corners to it. It's undulating, it's tight, it's twisty in places. It's very fast as well. The main start-finish straight is over 2,000 feet, 650 metres. So there's plenty of opportunity for overtaking. Now, around this circuit, with the most pro starts we've had in EuroNASCAR Pro, Alan Day, who is the reigning champion and a 3-times champion. He's also a 5-times winner here. The most wins, though, have gone the way of a driver that's not on the grid this weekend, Ander Villarino, the Spaniard, with 6 wins around this circuit. Could Alan Day match him with 6? Well, we'll find out at the end of this 75-kilometre race that is coming up. So with the cars heading out there onto circuit, ready to line up on the grid, let's have a look at the circuit itself. An onboard lap with 3-times runner-up in the EuroNASCAR division. In the Pro division, Fred Gabion shows us around a lap.
Welcome guys to Valencia. So we have a big straight line with almost the top speed of the NASCAR every year, and it's really important to keep a lot of speed in the first corner because it's a really fast left corner. Just after the fast left corner, you have a really strong left, an hairpin, and it's I think for me it's the slowest turn on the track, and you have to brake really hard and try to keep your brake until the apex, and after try to keep the rhythm until the turn 11. It's a lot of right and left corner, all in second gear, so trying to keep a good rhythm to be fast, and after one of the key on this track is really the chicane before the turn 11, because you have to brake on the curve, and if you brake too hard, you can kill easy your tires only in one lap. So it's really hard to make a good brake and keep enough speed until the apex of the turn 11. After we have a chicane, a right and left, really fast in third or second gear, maybe that depends of the feeling of the driver. And a really hard last left corner just before the straight line. This corner is really hard because all the brake is in a little left corner, and it's really hard to see the apex because you don't know if you have to look by your windows or in front of you because the chassis can block your vision. So it's really key because you have to keep a lot of speed to be fast on the straight line, and that's all for this track. Really interesting. I hope you will enjoy the race this weekend.
There we go, a real insight from Fred Gabion, an onboard lap with his RDV competition car. And well, the 3-times former runner-up in this series is going to line up a little further back on the grid than ideally he would have wished. 9th position was where he qualified over the course of the 30-minute qualifying session that took place this morning. So the cars are lining up on the grid for what is the first round of the 2021 NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. Whelen, the title sponsors once more. Hoosier Tyre on board as the default tyre manufacturer for this season, but also we will see the rings for the winners and the championship season trophy are supported by TJ once more. And iRacing are involved with us as well this year. We thank them for all their support. There is Loris Hazeemans, a former EuroNASCAR Pro champion who lines up on pole position, moved over from the number 50 Hendricks Ford to the number 7 Hendricks Ford for this season, and therefore is sharing that car with Martin Dubeck, who also qualified it on pole in his EuroNASCAR 2 qualifying session. So it was the same car on pole position for both of the races. We can guide you, I think, through the grid as well. So there was Loris Hazeemans on pole position. This is Alan Day, who sits alongside on the outside of the front row of the grid, away from the 3-times and reigning champion in EuroNASCAR Pro. Missed out on a little bit of circuit time as he tried to travel from his native Israel, which is having a few issues at the moment in that part of the world, over to Spain. So he arrived at the circuit late and couldn't take part in free practice yesterday. So was a little bit down on track time. So to qualify second quickest, albeit nearly 7/10 of a second shy of Loris Hazeemans, was not a bad effort, but there's a bit more to come, I think, from Alan Day in this race that is coming up. So Hazeemans and Alan Day on the front row of the grid. Gianmarco Erlicchili had a great qualifying session as the former EuroNASCAR 2 champion, qualified on the second row of the grid alongside Nicola Rocca. So we'll leave the grid there for the moment and hand downstairs to Andre, who's managed to catch up with one of the drivers. So hopefully we'll get an opportunity to chat to Andre, who have queued up an interview with Nicola Rocca, who was scheduled to have started the number 22 car on the outside of that second row of the grid. So let's try again. Let's head back downstairs and see whether we can chat to the drivers this time.
NASCAR Pro Race. We have a slightly different starting procedure in this year. Is this going to make any difference when it's going to turn one?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think we still going to be very close to each other down in turn one, so I don't think it's going to make a big difference. But we'll see. It's slightly different, as you said, yeah.
Are you happy with fourth position? I think you have a good shot here to gain some important points.
Yes, exactly. We have been waiting for the whole winter for this moment to happen. We are starting in a good position, so cannot wait to get started and score some good points.
All right, thank you very much and good luck.
There we go, Nicola Rocca. That is the number 55 car being towed back, which is Fabrizio Amata for the Club Motorsport. So clearly problems for him on his outlap from the circuit. Now, brief alluded to changes to the starting procedure, and that is because the cars used to be door handle to door handle in their respective lines for the start. They will now follow those grid lines. So you've got the inside line, which will follow the grid markers, and then you've got the outside line, which will again follow the grid markers. So there's going to be a much bigger gap between the two rows of cars on the inside line and the outside line, and they're scheduled to be about a metre apart from each other. So there's a bit more gap between each car heading up towards turn one. But those gaps are, I'm sure, going to close up on the charge in towards turn one. So that was what Nicola Rocca was alluding to there with Andre about the subtle changes to the starting procedure. And also, it's very clear now, every car has to be in second gear holding 3,700 revs once the instruction is given by race control, and they will sit in their respective lines. The lights will go out, but you can't move out of those lines until you've physically gone over the start-finish line. You can accelerate when the lights turn from red to green, but you can't move out of your lane, the inside or the outside, until you get to the start line. There is Tormo Ferrando. He qualified 6th on the grid, Tormo, driving the number 1 car for Academy Motorsport and Alex Caffey Racing. He was a runner-up in the Junior Trophy a few years ago. But now let's remain silent for the national anthems. So there we go, just about hear the American national anthem in the background. A big thumbs up there on the countdown with just 4 minutes to go before the cars will head off on their formation lap. So the Spanish national anthem has just been played. The NASCAR Grand Prix of Spain, the opening round of the 2021 NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. As for drivers that have claimed victories around this circuit before, there's actually only 2 drivers on the EuroNASCAR Pro grid that have claimed victories in EuroNASCAR Pro here in the past. The likes of Loris Hazemans, who starts from pole position, was a winner here for the final round, the very last round of 2020. And as for Alan Day, who starts alongside him on the front row of the grid, well, Alan's first victory here came in 2016. He claimed his first win here, but he did the double in 2018 and claimed a further 2 wins last year as well in our Super Speed weekend. So 5 wins for Alan Day from the outside of the front row of the grid. We do, however, have some drivers on the grid that have claimed victory here in the past, but that was in the lower division. As Fabrizio Amata looks at whatever went wrong with his car there. Drivers that have claimed victories in EuroNASCAR 2 that have now stepped up to EuroNASCAR Pro. Well, 2015 EuroNASCAR 2 winner Gianmarco Ercoli is on the grid. He's claimed 1 win here in the past. A win in 2017, his only win at this circuit. Ulis Del So is on the grid. The other driver that won in 2017, Tormo Ferrando, is on the grid. He's got 2 wins because he claimed 1 in 15 and 1 in 17. We've also got Giorgio Maggi, 2019 winner on the grid as well in this one. And, of course, our reigning EuroNASCAR 2 champion, Vittorio Girelli, who claimed 3 wins in that weekend of the 4th, 5th and 6th of December 2020. He is also on the grid. So there's a range of different drivers that have been to victory lane here, but not necessarily all of them in EuroNASCAR Pro races. It's only the 2 drivers on the front row of the grid that have claimed wins in EuroNASCAR Pro. There is 1 pit lane starter, and I try to work out who that is. I think that might be Patrick Lamery in the number 66 car for DF1 Racing, but it's difficult to tell here. It's sort of white at the front, but it just looks as though there's a little shade of green to the rear end of it. So I think it might be the car that was scheduled to have lined up 21st on the grid, Patrick Lamery, and therefore I think it would be his car that is starting from the pit lane in the hands of the 53-year-old Belgian, former Champ Car racer, briefly test driver for BAR. He was in Formula 1 as well when they were a team that existed. So the build up to the race, a minute and a half before the instructions are given, and the cars will fire themselves into life and start to make their way around the circuit on the build up to what is, I'm sure, going to be a fantastic 2021 NASCAR Whelen Euro Series, which starts here at Spain. The next Grand Prix we're scheduled to have is the NASCAR Grand Prix of the Czech Republic, before we then head back to the UK for American Speedfest at Brands Hatch. Then it's on to Germany and the Hockenheimring before we go to Croatia, to Belgium and to Italy. But we'll remain silent just while we wait for those infamous words to be given. So there we go, the engines are fired into life and the cars are about to make their way around the circuit with Loris Hazemans sitting there on pole position. He is a champion, of course. Remember, he was the EuroNASCAR Pro champion in 2019. He also lifted the junior title on that year as well. That's for drivers aged under 25. So just to give you an idea as to what this championship, EuroNASCAR Pro, is for the professional drivers in reality. So that is the overall championship, EuroNASCAR Pro. It's the top flight of European NASCAR racing. Within it, we have 2 separate trophies. We have the junior trophy, which is for drivers aged 25 or under at the beginning of the season. And also we have the Challenger Trophy, and the Challenger Trophy is for amateur drivers that race in EuroNASCAR Pro. So those are drivers that either are given a bronze or a silver driver grading, not the golds. They are not eligible for the Challenger Trophy. The cars themselves, 5.7 litre, that's 350 cubic inch V8 engines, producing 400 brake horsepower. They weigh 1,200 kilos, that's about 2,700 pounds, and they all run either for this year the 4-speed manual that they've always run, or there is a sequential option, but that's not a full electronic sequential box. It is a manual system still. It's still a mechanical system, but it does have sequential selection on it. So off they go around their formation lap. Loris Hazemans leading the way, having qualified on pole position for the first time here at Circuit Ricardo Tormo. He is a winner and a multiple winner in EuroNASCAR Pro. 7 wins under his belt now, Loris Hazemans. He was the last driver to win a EuroNASCAR race, of course. He won round 10, the final round, 2020 championship, but alongside him is the reigning champion, 3 times a champion, and the driver who is at the top of the all-time winners list now. 24 race wins for Alon Day over the course of his career. Can he add further to that tally over the course of, well, either this race or the weekend in general, because of course this is just the first of 2 races for EuroNASCAR Pro. So guide you through the grid. Loris Hazemans and Alon Day on the front row of the grid. Gianmarco Ercoli and Nicola Rocca on row number 2. Row 3 of the grid is the reigning EuroNASCAR 2 champion, stepping up this year to EuroNASCAR 1, Vittorio Girelli for Hendrix Motorsport. And alongside him is Tomo Ferrando for Alex Caffey. Row 4 of the grid is the number 18 of Giorgio Maggi, ahead of the 69 of Sebastian Bligi-Molen, with row 5 being Fred Gabillon. And returning to the series, number 42, Luigi Ferreira, the first of the 42 racing shadow cars. The 6th row of the grid is the former Formula 1 world champion, Indy 500 winner, of course, number 5, Jacques Villeneuve, alongside number 12, in 12th on the grid, Francesco Stini. Row 7 of the grid, double former champion Luca Lasserre, alongside Mark Goossens at the wheel of the 77 car, racing for DF1 Racing this year. Both of those cars a little bit further down the grid than one would have thought. Next row of the grid is number 10, Ulysse Del Snow, alongside 8, Dario Carzo. Row 9 is 55 for Riccio Amato, alongside number 90, making his debut in the series. Lots of rally experience, but not much racing experience for Andre Norrie. Row 10 of the grid, Davide Dallara and Henry Tuamala. Row 11, Patrick Lamery, I think, starting from the pit lane alongside Yevgen Sokolovsky. And the final row of the grid should be Ian-Eric Varden and Bernardo Manfrey. That is the order that they all qualified in. 24 cars for the opening round of the championship. A healthy number considering the difficulties of travel restrictions and, of course, budget and sponsorships and everything that's going on in the world at the moment. But a healthy start to our 2021 championship season. Loris Hasemans is the black and the day glow and the light blue car on pole position. The black and the green is Alan Day. Row 2 of the grid, it's yellow and black for Gianmarco Ercoli and largely white and red and yellow for Nicola Rocca. The cars are about to head up towards the start-finish line. Buckle up, everybody, for the first time in 2021. We're about to go green in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. Here at Circuit Ricardo Tormo, the lights go out. The inside line, as you look at it, the right of your screens is Loris Haseman. Alan Day is trying to go with him as they head up towards Asper, the first corner. Alan Day's going to have to brave it out around the outside, but try and close the door on Gianmarco Ercoli as well, who's looking to try and sneak his way through, if at all he can. But it looks as though Alan Day has just about almost got his nose ahead. He has, and has taken up the lead from Loris Hasemans, who gets a little bit sideways coming out of the corner. Gianmarco Ercoli is trying to open the door. The number 22 of Nicola Rocca is trying to go with him as well. But they are all, I think, safely through the first couple of corners, and already Alan Day is out of the box and trying to build a gap. Rocca and Ercoli side by side round through turn number 4, which is Nico Tirol, and as they then head up the hill in towards Aniel Nieto, looks as though Nicola Rocca has made it stick there, and the Italian goes ahead of his fellow countryman up into third place for the DF1 Racing number 22. Front 2 just getting away. Look at the squabble for Nicola Rocca, who just snatches a little bit of a break there, just briefly. Gianmarco Ercoli is right alongside him. Then the next of the cars is going to be Vittorio Garelli, who's there in 5th place, the number 50 car, sneaking through and hanging on to the place ahead of Tomo Ferrando, the 2 former EuroNASCAR 2 champions, side by side, with batches of cars queuing up behind, which includes Jack Villeneuve in the number 5 car in the mix as well. Up towards Champieros, which is the number 12, the turn number 12, and then up towards the never-ending left-hander at turn number 13. Corking the bottle at the moment is Vittorio Garelli. He's got Tomo Ferrando, then Jacques Villeneuve, Giorgio Maggi not that far behind. Maggi has got, trying to dive up the inside of him, Luigi Ferreira, I think that was, at the wheel of the first of the 42 racing machines. But one big queue of cars from 5th backwards. The front 4 just managing to escape as they head over the start-finish line and complete lap number 1. So Alan Day leading the way at this stage. Giorgio Maggi just running a little bit wide there. Tomo Ferrando has got Jacques Villeneuve trying to dive his way up the inside. Giorgio Maggi is trying to go with him as well. They're 3 wide almost coming out of the corner. Something's got to give. And I think it's poor old Tomo Ferrando. Yeah, he gives the place away to Jacques Villeneuve, but then has the inside line for the next corner. And therefore, he's able to fend off Giorgio Maggi, who himself is coming under attack from the number 42 car of Luigi Ferreira that sits behind. Year after year after year, Circuit Ricardo Tormo provides some great EuroNASCAR racing, some pure racing. Sideways for the number 90 car, which was Andrea Norrie, using all of that rallying experience to gather up the moment for his not only motorsport car, as it just started to break away from him, the Chevy. Chevys have far been the most successful car around this track as well. 12 wins to Chevys, just 5 wins to Fords over the years, but it is, at the moment, a Chevy, again, that leads this race. Alan Day leading the way. Fantastic view of cars behind Vittorio Garelli. He really is having to work overtime to try and keep Jacques Villeneuve, Giorgio Maggi, Luigi Ferreira, Sebastian Blicky-Bolen, Luca Lasser, Fred Gabion, Mark Goosens, Andrea Norrie, all behind that great big queue of cars, lining up nose to tail behind the number 50. Up towards the conclusion of lap number 2. There goes Jacques Villeneuve. Right on his bumper is a 23-year-old Frenchman, Tomo Ferrando, the EuroNASCAR 2 champion way back in 2017, trying to queue up a move here on the 1997 Formula 1 world champion. Too far back though as they head up towards Aspar, which is turn number 1, taken in 3rd gear. Out of Aspar up towards the next of the left-handers, which is Doohan, named after Mick Doohan. So many of the corners here named after motorcycle racers. Mick Doohan, named after turn number 2. Nico Tirol, of course, turn number 4, another very, very successful Spanish motorcycle racer. Through the right-hander at Nico Tirol, up towards turn number 5. 4 and 5 almost blend into one, both taken in second gear. Villeneuve having to make sure he just gets off the corners cleanly because Tomo Ferrando is right there with him. And then Tomo Ferrando coming under pressure from Giorgio Maggi. The lead of the race, though. Alan Day and Loris Hasemans breaking away now from Gianmarco Ercoli. Here we go, Tomo Ferrando looking for the inside line on Jacques Villeneuve. Jacques just about gets the door closed in time. So the order still remains the same at the moment. Villeneuve in 6th, Ferrando in 7th place, Giorgio Maggi in 8th. As for the leaders of the individual trophies within this race, the leading junior driver we've got, and therefore leading the junior trophy for those 825, is the car in 3rd place at the moment, Gianmarco Ercoli. And the leading challenger driver we've got for the amateur drivers in this category, down in 11th position, the number 69 car, Sebastian Bleekemolen. Up towards Adrian Campos once more. All of this little squabbling behind is just allowing, isn't it, Vittorio Garelli in 5th place to pull away from Jacques Villeneuve now. So Garelli was the cork in the bottle. All of the squabbling has allowed him to break away from Villeneuve, not by much, just by 2 or 3 car lengths, but that's enough now. Maggi just jinking out from the train of cars to see whether he can try anything on Tomo Ferrando heading in towards Asper, but it's just too quick a corner, really. It's not really an overtaking opportunity. It's this corner here that is. And is Ferrando going to have a nibble at Villeneuve? No. Still sits behind the former Indy 500 winner. Accelerating their way through the kink at turn 3, taken in 3rd gear, back down to 2nd. Snatch brake there, the unloaded wheel. And that, I'm afraid, off the circuit is Giorgio Maggi. Was running in 8th position, but he's had a problem somewhere, Maggi. And that has now meant that Tomo Ferrando is just on his own now, fighting away with Jacques Villeneuve. He had another little look there, Tomo Ferrando. He looks to be the quicker of the 2 cars at the moment. The difficulty is that Jacques Villeneuve, understandably, is just making sure he positions his car in the right place, gets cleanly off the corners, and it does make it incredibly difficult for Tomo Ferrando to try and unlock the door to steal the place away. For the lead of the race, though, all of a sudden it's closed up a little bit. Last time through, the car in 2nd place, Loris Hasemans, was 0.3 of a second quicker than Alan Day. Alan not having had as much circuit time because the free practice sessions, 2 45-minute free practice sessions yesterday, he hadn't managed to find his way to Spain from his native Israel because of the difficulties in that part of the world at the moment. So it was a bit of a detour, an extra flight or so to get himself here. So he only had an extra 15 minutes of practice this morning, which was agreed by the officials, and hats off to the rest of the competitors. They all agreed it as well, that the reigning champion and Navetala, who also had similar difficulties travelling from home, was able to at least get a little bit of circuit time in, and now he's got the overlap almost. Oh, that was close. Loris Hasemans, I think there was the briefest of touches with the front corner of Loris Hasemans' bumper on the rear corner of Alan Day. So little that it didn't upset the cars. You could almost just see the composite panels, the fiberglass panels, flex as the lightest of touches was made between the pair. Out of turn number 4, up towards turn number 5, the 2 of them still fighting away. Alan Day, remember, the reigning champion. Loris Hasemans finished 3rd in the championship last year. The driver who finished 2nd is not with us this weekend. Lasse Sorensen. Would be great to see the big Dane back again in the series. Now these 2 that are squabbling are allowing, I think, Gianmarco Ercoli to begin to close in now. He didn't close in last time through, I don't think, but I think now, yeah, the gap is definitely coming down. Watch out for the Cal Racing number 54 car. So Chevy versus Ford for the lead of the race. A Cal Racing Chevy, a Hendricks Ford, is another Cal Racing Chevy of Gianmarco Ercoli that sits there in 3rd place, and he is coming, absolutely. The gap is diminishing all of the time between the leading pair and Ercoli, who is on a charge in 3rd position, trying to see whether he can thread his way into contention here, the 26-year-old. Onto the brakes, in towards the left-hander at Adrian Campos. Alan Day being careful not to run too wide. Ercoli was probably the one that went widest of the top 3. Now, if the two become a three, they'll then squabble and hold each other up, which could bring Nicola Rocca in the background into contention as well. Vittorio Garelli, Jacques Villeneuve, Thomas Ferranda, Luca Lasser's now up into 8th positions. He's gained places. Luigi Ferreira and Sebastian Bleekemolen complete the top 10 at the moment, as now it looks as though trying the outside line this time, tries Loris Hazemans to see whether he can make it round the outside at turn 1. If he can hang on to it at turn number 2 and turn 3, he gets the inside lane for turn number 4 at Nico Tyrrell, and I think he might take up the lead of the race here. Yeah, through goes the Hendricks Ford in the hands of the former EuroNASCAR Pro Champion, but he's a little bit squirrely coming off the corner as they head through turn number 5. Alan Day's on the outside line, runs a little bit wide, so he's now under pressure from his teammate Gianmarco Ercoli, who throws one up the inside and says, thank you very much, I'll steal that away. He moves up to 2nd. The race leader at the beginning of the lap, Alan Day, is now down into 3rd position. Fantastic fighting, pure racing at the front. Up towards Bernard Martinez. Alan Day breaks as late as he possibly dare. The circuit really drops away on exit. Ercoli gets a little bit squirrely coming off the corner. His teammate is to driver's right. They go side by side through turn number 9 and 10, which means Alan Day has the inside line as they get towards 11. They are still side by side. Eventually, Ercoli thinks better of it, lets his teammate go through, and they just need to make sure the two Cal Racing machines in 2nd and 3rd do not squabble, because if they start to fight amongst themselves, it's just going to allow Loris Hazemans, the race leader, to pull away. Ford, Chevy, 1st, 2nd and 3rd. The leading junior driver is the car in 3rd place, the number 54 Cal Racing Chevy in the hands of Gianmarco Ercoli. Sebastian Bleekemolen in 10th is still the leading challenger driver that we've got for amateur drivers running in EuroNASCAR Pro. That's the white car with its blue and its pink flashes, the number 69 Ford. Hazemans with the fastest lap of the race that we've had so far, 1 minute 41.774. That could be important, because remember, the fastest lap set in this race by each driver give us the grid for race number 2 that takes place tomorrow. So for the moment, fastest lap of the race going Loris Hazemans' way will also mean that potentially he could be starting from pole tomorrow as well. So 1st, 2nd and 3rd still all together. Is Nicola Rocca in 4th place, closing in on them? I'm not entirely sure that he is, you know. No, the DF1 racing car is just a bit too far back still in the hands of the Italian. Not for want of trying, the 27-year-old. Runner-up in the junior category back in 2019 was Nicola Rocca. He finished 3rd in EuroNASCAR Pro that year as well. He was 9th in the standings last year. At the moment, just can't seem to close in on what was a leading trio. It's almost become a leading pair again, hasn't it? Because Gianmarco Ercoli has just dropped away a little bit this lap. Brief lock break again from Alan Day. Need to be careful not to overwork the tyres. Remember, it's the first race of the season, so they get 4 brand new tyres heading in towards qualifying. But those 4 brand new tyres, plus an extra 2 tyres that they've carried over from a free practice session, those 6 tyres in total need to see them through the whole of the 30-minute qualifying, the whole of this 75-kilometre race, and tomorrow's 75-kilometre race as well. Alan Day almost wide coming out of the corner there, just managed, I think, to keep a little bit of the left-hand side of the car on the curb. Over the start-finish line they'll go. Hazemans leads by 0.7 of a second now from Alan Day. Was 0.5 on the previous lap. You could just see on the left of your screen it's clicked over to 0.7 now. Gianmarco Ercoli still there in 3rd place, not that far away should the leading pair trip over each other. Nicola Rocca there in 4th place, Vittorio Garelli in 5th. So it's a good race for the Italians at the moment, 3rd, 4th and 5th place. Such is the variety of nationalities that we have in the championship. It is, as things stand, the Dutchman that leads. It is an Israeli in 2nd, Italians 3rd, 4th and 5th. The Frenchman that sits there in 6th position. 7th place, of course, is the Canadian Jacques Villeneuve, another Italian in 8th place, a Frenchman in 9th, and completing the top 10. That's where we see, again, another driver from the Netherlands. Leading 3. Well, I think what happened on the previous lap was either Ercoli made a slight mistake, or maybe just took a breather for a lap, maybe let the brake and the tyre temperatures and the car water and oil temperatures come down a little bit, and now he appears to be putting in another charge again once more. He's starting to close back in again on his teammate. Here is the battle for what will be 8th position. Luigi Ferreira under pressure from former back-to-back champion Luca Lasser, who was the champion in the early days, the first 2 years really, of what was called the Race Car Euro Series at the time, 2009, 2010. That's a good little fight. This man's on his own though at the moment, which is Nicola Rocca. Yeah, Luca Lasser trying to get the overlap here on Luigi Ferreira. The door's open. Surely the Frenchman's going to go through. Yeah, up the inside he goes of the 42 Racing Shadow Machine. Takes the place away. So the Speedhouse car making progress. And can now Sebastian Bleekemolen try and squeeze his way through as well. So Ferreira is down into 9th place. And he's coming under pressure from that white and light blue machine in the hands of the leading driver in the Challenger Trophy at this stage, Sebastian Bleekemolen in the 69. Sebastian Bleekemolen has got Mark Goossens behind him, who has historically done lots of racing for Brax, a team that are no longer with us, and is racing for DF1 this year, wheel of that purple machine. Hugely experienced Belgian driver. At the moment, he's outside of the top 10 places. Fred Gabillon, 3 times a runner-up in this series, is only down in 12th place at the moment. So there's a few drivers that perhaps aren't having the best of it. So back up towards, run towards the highest part of the circuit, Bernard Martinez. Goes Luca Lasser, starting to pull away from the 42 now of Luigi Ferreira. See Luigi in the series. He took in, what, 4 races last year, Luigi Ferreira. He did a couple of races back in 2019. Very successful in his native Italy with championships and runner-up spots in the like TCR series over there, the Carrera Cup, Italian Formula 3, Italian Formula Renault, Luigi Ferreira. Very successful in his native Italy. And at the moment has got his hands full of another driver who has been enormously successful, the number 69 car in the hands of Sebastian Bleekemolen. He's been a multiple Clio champion, both in Europe and in the Benelux countries in general. Runner-up in the European Clio Championship back in 2019, which he finished 4th in that last year as well. Good to see him back in EuroNASCAR, where he finished 16th in EuroNASCAR Pro. And he's looking on the inside of Luigi Ferreira here, gets a much better run coming out of Adrian Campos, up towards Asper. The two go side by side, but Bleekemolen goes through, and there's not a great deal that Ferreira can do about that. All he can now do is close the door and prevent Mark Goossens from trying to squeeze his way through and gain the place. So there they go, 69, 42, and then Mark Goossens at the wheel of the 77 DF1 Racing Chevy. Front though, Hazeman still continuing to lead, and now really starting to open up the gap. You can see there, look, there is the black and day glow yellow and blue machine in the hands of Loris Hazemans. It's pulled away from Alan Day since retaking the lead of the race. Alan Day missing the apex there, really. Now, black and white warning flag going out for the number 3 car. That's the car that runs down in 12th position, Fred Gabillon. So just being forewarned, one would imagine, with regards to circuit limits. There were a few cars, both in free practice and in qualifying, that lost lap times because they were running wide all of the time. Into the pit lane comes one of the cars. Couldn't quite pick out who that was, so possibly a drive-through penalty being issued. Alan Day still under pressure from his teammate, which is Gianmarco Ercoli. Ercoli is pushing hard, would desperately like to try and get through and ahead if he can. Ercoli finished 6th in the championship standings last year, the former EuroNASCAR 2 champion. He was the first driver in history to have won a race in EuroNASCAR 2 and then step up to EuroNASCAR Pro and win a race as well. There's been a few more have done it since, but he was the first ever to do that, as they work their way still up towards the braking area for Douan, which is turn number 2. Second gear shift up to 3rd as they head round through the little kink at the unnamed turn number 3 up towards Nico Tirol, which is turn number 4. But the door is just not even open, is it? Let alone being ajar, it's certainly not even open as far as Alan Day is concerned. Just making sure he positions his Chevy where he wants it to be. That's going to make it increasingly more difficult for Ercoli to work his way through. Now, they both run for Cal Racing, but they are both focused on their own championship and the team's championship. Here comes Ercoli. Is he going to have another nibble? No, the team's championship, unlike other series where a team would nominate 2 cars that would score points, it doesn't work that way in EuroNASCAR. It's the same car that scores points for the team's championship in both Division 1, i.e. NASCAR Pro, and Division 2, EuroNASCAR 2. So the number 88 car, for instance, is picking up teams championship points in this race because of where Alan Day finishes, and it will also pick up points towards the teams championship in the EuroNASCAR 2 race where Max Lancer will drive it. You add the points together collected by both drivers, that gives you the teams championship at the end of the year. That championship last year was secured by the number 50 Hendricks Ford. Still nose to tail and out of the corner. 40 points available for a race win this weekend. The moment they're going the way of Loris Hazeman's. 35 points if you're second. They are possibly going the way of Alan Day, but Ercele's got other ideas about that. Third would give 34 points, and so on. It diminishes by a single point. But remember, there is also an extra 4 championship points available to whichever driver from starting position to finishing position gains the most places. Onto the brakes, Ercele again looking to try and unlock the door. Alan Day just getting a little bit cleaner coming off the corner, so there's nothing the young Italian can do about it. He's still got the 3 times champion, the most successful driver in terms of wins in EuroNASCAR Pro ahead of him, Alan Day. Gap first to second is hovering around 1.6 seconds now. Nicola Rocca is 4 seconds off the back of the race leader. I'm just going to keep an eye on that gap just to see what they're doing. Nicola Rocca on this lap quicker than Gianmarco Ercele, only just through the first sector, quicker than Ercele and Alan Day through the second sector, so the gap third to fourth is coming down a little bit. Need to keep an eye on that one. They are now 11 laps into the scheduled 18 for the moment. We've gone green all of the way, and I think other than that issue for Giorgio Maggi, I haven't seen out on the circuit anybody else really have any issues. There are a few cars that I don't think really made the start. I saw Patrick Lemarie's car in the pit lane. I think that came out and did a lap and has been parked back up again. Francesco Cini did not make the start, I'm afraid to say, for Solaris Motorsport. That's because Alina Leubnegger had issues with that car in qualifying, and I don't think Solaris were able to get it done and dusted. Now, there's another warning flag. That's an important one, because that is the car in second place, Alan Day, that's now being forewarned. Sorry, Gianmarco Ercele, I should say, that's now being forewarned with regards to circuit limits. So 54 needs to be careful here, but he doesn't go beyond the track limits. Alan Day has the inside line. Ercele trying to cut back again on the exit of it. Gianmarco Ercele, remember, still the leading junior driver that we've got in the race at this stage. Can he sneak up the inside at Nico Tirol? He's going to have a go side by side through turn number 4. He'll have the inside line for turn number 5, and he goes back through, albeit for the moment, to take up second position. Day down into third, and in the background, Nicola Rocca is closing in all of the time at the wheel of the DF1 Racing Chevy. Up towards Curva de l'Affichon, which is turn number 7, third gear, back down to second towards Bernard Martinez. Ercele into second, Day down to third, Nicola Rocca without question closing in on him again over the course of this lap, so it could be a trio fighting for what would be just 2 podium places, and all of this is just allowing Loris Hazeman to break away a little bit more. He is now 1.8 seconds to the good in the lead of the race. Also had a change, I think, for 5th position on this lap. Tomo Ferrando, I think, might have got past, in the background. Tomo Ferrando has got past Vittorio Garelli, so Fernando now the number 1 car up to 5th, Garelli down to 6th. So another lap about to be chalked into the book. They work their way out of the left-hander over the start-finish line. Now, I did just see there, I think that was Francesco Cini's car in the race, so I think he's come out. Yeah, he's only on his second lap, Francesco Cini, so he was very late to start the race, but sensible things by Solaris Motorsport. He is going to be way off the pace in this race in terms of positions, but if he can set a good lap time, that will give him a good grid position for tomorrow's race. And equally, as the car was involved in an incident earlier on, it gives him a chance, and the team a chance, to effect the repairs. Yes, miss the start of this race, but you can then get out onto track, check those repairs have worked, importantly, because it's the only running the car would get between now and the Euro 2 race, the EuroNASCAR 2 race later on, when Alina Leubnegger is scheduled to take over it. Now, Alan Day coming under increasing pressure here from Nicola Rocca, whilst Gianmarco Ercele is just starting to disappear up the road a shade more. Nicola Rocca was 9th in the standings last year. Another driver who's been around the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series for a good number of years, Nicola Rocca. He's still only, what, 27 years of age nowadays, but we first saw him in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series back in 2013. Ex-former Formula Renault racer from Italy. But other than that, has largely spent the vast majority of his racing career in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series, racing saloons and other things, rather than the single-seaters where he first cut his teeth, rather. So, towards the braking area. Another lap about to be concluded. Quick replay. This is Erkley just managing to sneak up the inside at turn number 4 at Nico Tirol of Alan Day, and that was what gave him that second place and is now allowing him to start to pull away from third place car of Alan Day. So now we are hearing that there might be a post-race penalty going the way of number 88. That would be Alan Day. Now that is going to be added at the end of this race, so we'll have to wait and see with regards to track limits. So we'll try and seek confirmation of that, and certainly when we get to tomorrow's race we'll be able to confirm it. But you're just hearing on the grapevine that the clerk of the course, race control, race directors, is being given some sort of penalty for continually transgressing the circuit limits, and also fresh off the press, the same penalty is going the way of the car in second place as well, Gianmarco Ercoli. So this could really play into the hands of Nicola Rocca potentially. So Ercoli with a penalty hanging over him, Alan Day with a penalty hanging over him, Luca Lasserre we hear also potentially with a penalty hanging over him as well. So this could really affect things for the finishing positions for this race, or grid drops. It depends on what the penalty is. It's going to be applied after the race, so you would have thought it would either be a time penalty in this race in lieu of a drive-through penalty, which they might give, or it could be a grid drop. We'll try and seek confirmation before the end of the race as to what that is likely to be, albeit we might be able to give you as to what the final finishing results would be for this one, or what the starting grid for the next one will be, of course. So, 14 of 18 laps. Loris Haseman's lead by 2.4 seconds from Gianmarco Ercoli. See the gap, there's the race leader. The yellow car is Ercoli, the black car is Alan Day, the white bonneted car and roofed car is Nicola Rocca. Luigi Ferreira is about 5 seconds adrift of these in 5th position. Vittorio Garelli is in 6th again. Tomo Ferrando is in 5th position. Vittorio Garelli is in 6th. Jacques Villeneuve, Luca Lasserre, Mark Goossens and Luigi Ferreira complete the top 10. So Goossens and Lasserre have made a bit of progress. Luigi Ferreira, who was running 5th, wasn't he, in the early stages, has rather gone backwards in the 42. He's now down into 10th. Now, our race leader, Loris Hasemans, has been working tirelessly hard with Martin Dubeck, who's going to drive that car, the Czech driver, in the EuroNASCAR 2 division, because in qualifying there's only a 10-minute overlap between the end of one session and the start of the next. The car has to be set up so that both drivers are happy with it. Now, you could argue it's best to set it up for the driver that's happy with it in EuroNASCAR 2, because the EuroNASCAR pro drivers are pros by very nature. They can sort of drive around it if it's not quite to their liking. But I know Martin Dubeck and Loris Hasemans have spent an inordinate amount of time working together to find a setup that ideally suits them both. Hasemans is really happy with the setup. Martin Dubeck is delighted with the setup, and that's why that number 7 car is going to be starting both races today, both this race and later on this afternoon, EuroNASCAR 2 race from pole. And it's certainly working, because the car is not dropping off at all, is it? Great fight still for 3rd and 4th place. Alan Day, with that penalty hanging over him, still clinging by his fingertips onto 3rd position. Nicola Rocca right that way there with him. Ford leads, Chevy 2nd, Chevy 3rd, Chevy 4th. It's another Ford that's there in 5th place, Thomas Ferrando. It's another Ford in 6th place as well, Vittorio Garelli. We're pretty much side by side for 7th and 8th place, and Jacques Villeneuve tries to palm away the aspirations of Luca Lasserre, who's going to sneak through here. The Frenchman is going to go up the inside of the French-Canadian to steal the place away. Remember, Luca Lasserre is another one of those drivers, though, that does have a penalty hanging over him as a result of circuit limits in this race. Job is done on track for Luca Lasserre. 2009, 2010 champion, up ahead of the 1997 Formula One world champion. Now we're heading towards the final couple of laps now of this race, so might have a little bit more shuffling potentially. There's a good fight going on for 12th and 13th positions as well, which is Andrea Nori fighting away with Ulysse Delso. Keep an eye towards that one as well. Andrea Nori, I've got to say, has done a cracking job. Is leading the Challenger standings now because Sebastian Bleekemolen has had an issue somewhere and has dropped down to 18th overall. So in his debut, the number 90 car, Andrea Nori, who's got lots of World Rally experience and historic rallying experience, but not a great deal of circuit experience, is running 12th and is the leading driver in the Challenger Trophy. So here's Alan Day. Nicola Rocca still shadowing him all of the way. Mark Goossens under pressure from Luigi Ferreira, and Fred Gabion's not far away as well. The T-Pack supported car, white on one side, black on the other in the hands of the Frenchman. Is it going to be the last season we see Fred Gabion competing? He did say he thought it might be his last season. I hope not. It'd be great to see Fred continue to race. Another good fight also that's going on. This is Henry Tuamala fighting away with Davide De Lara. Davide De Lara is just up the road from him. Davide was the Challenger champion last year. He's under pressure. No such pressure, however, for Loris Heizemans, who is now onto his final lap of the race and has built up a 2-second advantage between himself and Gianmarco Ercoli. And it certainly looks as though, whilst he didn't have it all of his own way, did he, Loris Heizemans? Led the race, briefly lost the lead of the race, retook the lead of the race, and then was able to pull away from Alan Day and Ercoli whilst the two of them were squabbling. He's largely then just built an advantage and controlled that advantage, and it looks as though in his first race in the number 7 Hendricks Ford, having done so much hard work and been so successful in the number 50 Hendricks Ford over the years, it looks as though he is on for victory number 1 of the season. It would be victory number 8 of his career, and it would be victory number 6 for Ford as a mark here at Circuit Ricardo Tormo in Valencia. Up towards Champieros, turn number 12, just turn 13 and 14 to go, and it looks as though he is going back towards victory lane. He claimed the last win of the 2020 season here at Circuit Ricardo Tormo in EuroNASCAR Pro on the 6th of December, and it looks as though 5 months later on, Loris Heizemans, albeit in a different car, is going back towards victory lane. He comes over the start-finish line and claims the first win of the season in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series, EuroNASCAR Pro Division. Gianmarco Ercoli, albeit with some sort of penalty hanging over him, finishes second on the road. Alan Day, the reigning champion, finishes in 3rd place. Nicola Rocca comes through to finish in 4th, ahead of Tomo Ferrando in 5th position. And I think with those penalties for Ercoli and Day, it's going to promote Nicola Rocca up into 2nd position and Ferrando up into 3rd, because I think it's going to be probably a time penalty in lieu of a drive-through that they're going to be given. I'm hoping Gianluca Guiglia might be able to confirm in my ear as to exactly the penalty that is likely to be applied post-race to the likes of Ercoli today and to Luca Lasser. We just saw pulling off the circuit there also Patrick Lamorie's car. That's a car that started from pit lane, only did 1 lap and then disappeared. Such a shame for Patrick Lamorie. Nice to see him out in the championship, the 53-year-old Belgian. Did a part season last year, so was actually shown as being 17th in the EuroNASCAR Pro Division standings, but only did a part season, as did his teammate, of course, Jacques Villeneuve. So Heizemans claims the win. Gianmarco Ercoli 2nd on the road, but likely to get demoted from that position. Alan Day 3rd, but also likely to get demoted from that position, which means that the car that finished in 4th place, Nicola Rocca, could well be classified 2nd in the end, and the car that finished 5th could be classified 3rd, Tomo Ferrando. We'll wait confirmation of that, but we can tell you how they finished on the road at least. The win on the road goes the way of Loris Heizemans. 2nd on the road was Gianmarco Ercoli, and 3rd was Alan Day. 4th was Nicola Rocca. 5th was Tomo Ferrando, and completing the top 6 was Vittorio Garelli. 7th place was Luca Lasser. 8th was Jacques Villeneuve. 9th was Mark Goossens, and 10th in the end was Luigi Ferreira. Fred Gabion was there in 11th place. Andrea Nori was in 12th place ahead of Ulysse Delso, Davide De Lara and Henry Tuamala, who was in 15th place. Yevgen Sokolovsky was 16th. Ian Eric Varden was 17th. And 18th, and I think the last of the finishes in the end, Bernardo Manfredi's. Problems and retirements for the likes of Sebastian Bligimolin, for Fabrizio Amata, for Dario Carzo, Francesco Sini, Patrick Lamary and Giorgio Maggi all had their problems over the course of that race. And as for the category wins, well, the win in the junior category on the road goes the way of Gianmarco Ercoli, but depending on what happens with that penalty, it could promote also Tomo Ferrando to the win in that category. We'll have to wait and see. And I don't think there's any doubt as to who the winner was in the Challenger Trophy on his debut. Congratulations to number 90, Andrea Nori, the former rally driver, who was the winner in the Challenger Trophy. So the car's heading in towards pit lane. You probably did just spot there, we do have some spectators allowed here. Such are the regulations in Spain with regards to social distancing and the COVID-19 pandemic. 2,000 spectators are allowed into the circuit this weekend. They are kept entirely separate from the competitors. All of the grandstand seating, of which we can accommodate 120,000 seats and spectators here, is open air, so that aids issues as well. And it does mean that we can very easily have 2,000 just in the main, I think, start-finish grandstand, and still have social distancing in place as well. So it's great that we are back racing. It's great that we've got some fans back racing, but I'm sure we all agree we want to put on the full show for everybody as we continue through this 2021 season. And the sooner we can get all of the fans back, absolutely the better it will be, because the drivers love it, the teams love it, and I know all of you tuning in, all of you fans watching, absolutely love it as well. We'll do it when the time is right, when government regulations in our host countries allow it to happen as well, and our key circuit partners, the likes of Circuit Ricardo, Tormo this weekend, all working with us to ensure that happens. And whilst we mentioned partners, thanks again to Whelen Engineering, to Hoosier Tyre, who are our controlled tyre suppliers, TJ, who will be supplying the winners' rings and our championship trophy as well, and also our new partner for this year as well, iRacing, who we are delighted to have on board. So the cars working their way in towards the victory lane area. We will endeavour to grab a word with the race winner and see whether we can catch up with a few other drivers as well and enjoy the victory lane celebrations. I can see that Loris Hazeman's car is there right down at pit lane entry end, and he will be allowed to dive out of the car and enjoy the celebrations for what for him is his second ever victory here at Circuit Ricardo Tormo. So we're only, what, 20 kilometres away from Valencia, in what is a real natural bowl as well. It's a fantastic circuit to spectate from. Doesn't matter where you are on the circuit in any of the grandstands, you can see pretty much every corner. So if there's ever a circuit you want to visit to enjoy some racing, this is what I'd recommend. There we go. There is Loris Hazeman's for the first time in victory lane in the number 7 Hendricks Ford, having driven the 50 so successfully over the last few years, and more importantly, sets the fastest lap of the race, as you can see there on the graphic, 1:41.774. Subject to official confirmation, that would also give him pole position for tomorrow's EuroNASCAR Pro race as well. What a start to his championship season, Loris Hazeman's, driver who was only, 41 points adrift in the championship standings last year. So mathematically could still have had a chance of winning the championship heading into the final race, but just didn't quite happen for him last year. But he will be back. He will be one to watch out for this season, because remember, he is a former champion. He was the EuroNASCAR Pro champion just a couple of years ago in 2019, and a driver who was also taken in racing on the other side of the Atlantic as well, with the likes of Xfinity at Road Atlanta. We saw him in the Pinty Series as well. I think he did the Mexico City race in the Pinty Series. So he's a driver who, without question, I'm sure we're going to see more of this year at the sharp end, and hopefully we'll see a little bit more of over on the other side of the Atlantic as well. So off has come the balaclava, off has come the crash helmet, on goes the Hoosier Tyre hat, and then hopefully, once he's had a little drink of water and the chance to just refresh himself, there we go, kiss from his partner, and then we can grab a quick word with our race winner, who is down there with Andre. So hopefully, there we go, he's just taking off the frontal head restraint and then pop that into the car. The car will have to go through its technical checks, and then I think we are about ready ready to go. There we go. I think he's there. Is Andre there? So I'm hoping we'll be able to grab a word with him. Just confirmation as well. Loris Hasemans grabs the win. It's look, we have got Nicola Rocca promoted up into second place once the penalties have been applied, and Gianmarco Ercoli will be third, which still means that Ercoli grabs the win in the junior trophy as well. So yeah, amended results with those penalties applied. Loris Hasemans, number 7, the race winner. Second, number 22, Nicola Rocca will be classified second on corrected times with penalties applied. Gianmarco Ercoli, who finished second on the road, will be classified in third position. One thing I can also confirm is that, yeah, Loris Hasemans will take pole position for our race tomorrow, and it looks as though Alan Day will line up alongside him, with Gianmarco Ercoli third on the grid for tomorrow's race, and I think fourth on the grid for tomorrow's race looks as though it's going to be Nicola Rocca. That's just gazing through the live timing screens that I've got available to me. But again, we will confirm all of that once we get the grid published, and that will not be until tomorrow morning. And we'll see that grid published for our EuroNASCAR Pro race. So still keeping my fingers crossed that we're going to grab a quick word with our race winner, Andre Weigold, one of the members of the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series media team, down there in the pit lane. And we'll be, I'm sure, just waiting for the opportunity to grab a word with Loris Hasemans and gauge his thoughts on what was a tough old race. And so we will hopefully grab a word with Loris Hasemans. That was his 8th career win, by the way, his 8th career win. So Loris Hasemans, quick drink of water, chatting away there to Nicola Rocca to the left of your screens. And Nicola Rocca, I think, as we say, classified ultimately 4th on the road, but will be promoted up into 2nd position. I'm not sure we're going to get a word with Loris Hasemans, because I don't think the opportunity to get Andre into that position with a microphone, with a cameraman, has quite happened as yet. So we'll just hang around for a split second, unless Ivan, my producer, tells me in my ear it's time to go. But we'll just hang on just in case we can grab a quick word with them. What we can do in the meantime whilst we're waiting is we can guide you through the rest of the schedule for the weekend, because of course that was just the first race of today. We've got another race that's coming up later on today, and all of these races are streamed live as well. So the schedule for the weekend will see us going back live again with EuroNASCAR 2 race a little bit later on this afternoon, and that is scheduled, the stream, to go live at 16:45 Central European time. That's 15:45 if you are watching in the United Kingdom. And that will be held over a slightly shorter distance. It'll be 15 laps or 60 kilometres. And then remember, tomorrow we also have 2 further races as well. In the morning at 10:15 we will go live in the morning, Central European time, 9:15 watching in the UK. Very early if you're over in the States Eastern time, by the way. That will be the EuroNASCAR 2 race, and our EuroNASCAR Pro race tomorrow goes live at 14:15 Central European time, 13:15. Which is British summertime as we are now. So I think we are perhaps not going to get the opportunity to chat to our race winner. Congratulations to Loris Hasemans on his 8th win of the season, and with all of the celebrations having been done down there in the pit lane, we may as well say goodbye for now from all of us here at Circuit Ricardo Tormo. But don't go too far. Join us a little bit later on today for the EuroNASCAR 2 race. Until then, from myself, Mark Werrell, goodbye.